Now we're less than 2 months from Election Day. Do you feel like we have an answer from either candidate, a good plan of how they're paying off the national debt?
Well, all I know is which one increases the national debt more. That's all I've got. I don't have no. I don't have a plan. Harris's program increases the debt by $1.5 trillion, and Trump's increases it by 4 or 5 trillion. So, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have a big impact on at the moment anyway in politics. But it definitely will. I mean, I think I've told you before. If not, I'm boring you for the second time. But the most important number when it comes to the debt is what are you going to do about Social Security and Medicare? The two biggest programs at the federal government level. And there, it makes older people like me uncomfortable with it, but here's how the program works. We tax you, because you're in the workforce. We levy FICA tax on you to pay for Social Security and for Medicare, and we transfer that money to beneficiaries who worked hard and they deserve but the number of people that you're taxing versus the number of people you're transferring money to matters. It's not a pension fund. It's a transfer program. And right now we tax 3 people for every 1 worker, every 1 beneficiary, 3 to 1. In 7 years, it's 2. And you don't get to choose Warren Buffett and Elon Musk to tax. It's an average of what is it, 180 million people that are paying into FICA, or 200 million, or whatever the number is, a big number. But we got fewer people going to be taxing, and less money we're able to transfer. And we've got to solve that problem, because it's the interest today we talked about it, on the national debt is larger than defense. So no, there's no way that either one of these candidates, either Harris or Trump, could claim that they've got a plan to pay off the debt. They don't. Both of them increase the debt.
And you said increase by trillion, 1 trillion, a couple trillion. I mean, regardless, that's not zero. That's a lot of money, and that's nowhere near zero, which would be the ideal national debt. So what do you think's missing from the national conversation when it comes to the national debt?
I think we're in la-la land, unfortunately, most of the time. I think the only 2 things that you need: growth in the economy. The economy has to grow. If you got a plan that the economy isn't growing, I don't care what you do. The problem's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. In the 90s, when we went from 3% of our income that was being borrowed to pay for our expenses to 0, in 12 years we were paying off debt. Both Republicans, beginning with George Herbert Walker Bush and ending with Bill Clinton, were supportive of getting to a point where we're paying off debt. We did it, but the proposals were difficult, made it a lot easier by economic growth, but they were hard. There's only 2 things you can do. You got to reduce the amount of money you're spending, or you've got to increase the amount of revenue you've got coming in. And both of those are unpopular. The 94 election for Democrats who voted in 93 for that Deficit Reduction Act, nobody said to us, "Oh, that was great. It started with George Herbert Walker Bush and you're just continuing." No, it was, you got to stand up and defend the taxes that were in that proposal and the spending reductions that were in that proposal, and none of those are popular, except with think tanks and old retired guys like me that just look at the numbers. So it's a big problem, and it's a solvable problem, but it cannot be solved without supporting things that are going to be unpopular. It just isn't possible. And even maintaining economic growth can be unpopular, because it's a lot easier to cut somebody's taxes or spend money on. You're more likely to get votes by cutting somebody's taxes or spending money on them than you are doing the opposite. And so take the proposal to increase the tax on people who are getting Social Security. That was in the 93 bill. It was unpopular. And a lot of Democrats lost their seat because of that. But it was the right vote. It was the right thing to do. Seniors are not foraging in the alley for food. If you talk to them and say, you care about your children, your grandchildren, look what their future looks like. Just run the numbers out, just 10 years. You don't have to run it out very far. Look what they're going to be having to do. Look what the cost of interest is today versus what it's going to be in 10 years. It's not a good birthday present. It's a terrible thing. Either stop saying you care about your kids and your grandkids, or start doing something that benefits them.